Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, in the Tafseer As Sa'di, in Surah Al-Baqarah 238/39, there is a really unique explanation for us that I wanted to share with you. Be ever mindful of prayers, especially the middle prayer, and stand before Allah in devotion. If you are afraid of an enemy and the like, pray on foot or riding. But when you are safe again, remember Allah, for He has taught you what you did not know before. So here, he talked a lot about how the fact that when you are afraid of wild animals, you're afraid of an enemy, that it is permissible to pray on horses or camels and the like, so that you pray on time, even if you're not facing the Qibla. And he wrote here, it is not permissible to delay the prayer until after the time for it has ended, even in these extreme circumstances. Offering the prayer in that imperfect manner is preferable. Indeed, it is more obligatory than offering the prayer in safety and calmness outside the prescribed time. So, what I liked about that is it just enlightens us further about the importance of prayer. And here, he mentions how the middle prayer is asr, and I think most of us could realize that. And he mentions here fulfilling all the necessary conditions and essential parts, and that you should focus on it with proper humility and do everything that is obligatory and recommended. And he further went on to say that when you are mindful of your prayers, it helps you to be mindful in all acts of worship. And by focusing on your prayers and getting them done, I think you become more disciplined as well, and you just have a stronger sense of faith. That's a good reason for many women to consider changing their work life. To be able to be a stay-at-home mom means you will have more options for your prayer times. And some jobs really make it difficult for you to go and pray. He also points out how it helps to keep one away from shameful and evil deeds. I totally can contest to that, because when you are very dedicated to your prayers and you put them first, it's easy to turn people down when they invite you places, to events and whatnot. And it's easy to, well, it becomes easier when you want to pray and you have to excuse yourself. So I remember just in the beginning working out how to express to people like, oh, I have to go, prayer's coming. It was hard for me in the beginning to explain to people like, oh, I have to go now, talk to you later, because I don't like interrupting people when they're talking to me. Like, I'm shy sometimes to say, hey, I have to go. But when prayer time's coming up, I'd be like, oh, we gotta get going. And that was really helpful for me. And further, when you become really habitualized and attached to your prayers, if you skip them and you're like going to do something dumb, haram, that you're not supposed to do, it feels awkward in that time. It feels very strange, like in your heart, like it don't feel right because you're off balance, you're off kilter. I remember back in the day, just missing a gym session would feel quite odd. And when you get habitualized to your prayers, when you miss them, you start to feel not fine-tuned anymore, And so it definitely can keep you away from shameful and evil deeds. And then he mentions here how Allah enjoins standing before Him in devotion. And he explained that you do that through having your mind present and in a state of humility. And I like that because it reminds us that, you don't get to be like, I want this, and like make all these demands from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Rather, You are there hoping that your prayers and du'as are accepted, and you have humility when you prostrate. It's really beautiful. So he also mentioned proper humble focus of mind. So you stand up in devotion, you have a proper humble focus of mind. You don't make small talk in the masjid about business and whatnot. And following all that, it will help you to have a stronger relationship with your prayers and help you also to remember Allah more. And essentially what I got of it was that essential part of prayer and the conditions for it is to have a focus of mind. And so you have to be mindful of your prayers, pray on time, fulfill the necessary conditions and essential parts, and this can help us to see where we're lacking. And then he mentions here lastly, but when you are safe again, that is, when the fear has passed, remember Allah. This includes all kinds of remembrance of Allah, one of which is offering the prayer in the proper manner. For He has taught you what you did not know before, which is a great blessing and favor, in return for which you should remember Him and give thanks, so that the blessing will remain and you will be given more. So here we see how many options Allah SWT gives us. The ability to pray while writing is very important, because sometimes you're just not in the safe territory to do it. And so walking can also help, because if you're in a very dangerous neighborhood, you can't do your prayers just on the sidewalk, and you have to get from point A to point B as fast as you can. It would be very important for you to be able to do it while walking. Very important. What do you think? Really is helpful, these tafsir. I remember when I first became a revert, I didn't understand what tafsir was when people kept putting it in the comment section. And then when I bought this edition and I've read so much of it, I really am thankful for the scholars who take the time to write it and the people who take the time to translate it, because it really just adds even more depth and explanation to the Qur'an. And so if you don't have a tafsir yet, I urge you to get one, and I hope to read as many tafsirs as I can. That's a goal that I have. Let me know what you think. If you'd like to join my blog, it's www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. Hope to see you there.